Welcome back, and today we're going to be discussing the book Dragonsblood by Todd McCaffrey. This is the first of the books that he wrote on his own. There were two of them, I believe. This is the first of them, and I went into this with a guarded optimism, I guess, because there was a guy that I talked to who was really into the series, and he read them in publication order. I am reading them in chronological order. If you are looking at these in publication order, this is actually Pern number 17. Technically, chronologically, it's number 7. It's 8 in here because I had Rescue Run as its own book. So this would be book 7 chronologically. But anyway, this guy told me that he said with Todd's writing, it was atrocious. Just horrible. So I'm going into this book thinking, please don't, just let it be at least decent. And I was surprised. I mean, I didn't really see a whole lot of difference. I mean, there wasn't really much of a drop off between the way that he wrote and the way that at least he wrote with Anne. Now, I mean, Anne McCaffrey's stuff is a little more detailed. His writing's not as good as hers, but I don't think it's really atrocious either. The other thing is this book is more scientific. It has a lot to do with DNA and then PNA, which is what is sort of the immune system on Pern. What this book is basically about is we start following a new character, Lorena, who has two watch weirs. Two fire lizards, not watch weirs. And as she's in the midst of this book goes back and forth, by the way, I should tell you. It goes from like 507, 508 after landing, all the way back to about 47, 48 after landing. And there's a reason why. And if you can make it to about page 150, you'll be able to you'll be able to make the connection. It kind of took me that long to do it. You might be able to find it faster than that. But basically, she's caught in a storm at sea, and she feels like she's going to die. Her fire lizards want to save her, and she doesn't want them to sacrifice themselves. So she basically commands them to go between, which is going from one place to another. And here's where the connection is kind of made, because they don't just go from one place to another. They go from one time to another. They go all the way back to 47, 48 after landing. So you still got Wind Blossom alive. She's older, but she's alive. And it comes out that one of the fire dragons are sick. And when we go back in time, or we go forward in time, the dragons now are sick. In the last book, it was the human plague that was going on. This was something that was affecting the dragons. It started with a cough, and then they would sneeze up the ichor, the green, and they would start to they were starting to die. They're fighting Thread, and Thread starts again in this book. The dragons go between, and sometimes with their riders, or sometimes without. And we see that Lorena, she can speak to all dragons. She can feel every dragon's death, every injury. So the pain that she goes through is immense. And she impresses a gold dragon named Aerith. And Aerith ends up getting sick, probably about like when she's about 4 or 5 months old. And what happens is she tries this. They find these rooms that the people that Wind Blossom and her daughter Amora leave for them in the future, and she basically takes all 4 vials. One of them is supposed to be only for watchwears, and she liquefies it and she injects it into her dragon, and her dragon basically is just can't handle it. It's the wrong thing, and her dragon goes between and dies. And she is just, devastated as any dragon rider would be. And, figuring out what happens with her, what is her role going to be moving forward? I don't know. And I'll explain that in a moment. But there's who's the current werewoman, and she, for some reason, and you find out in the end, really, that she wasn't always crabby at her old weir. Now she's got a queen dragon. She's the werewoman. She is just always going off on people, and Lorena in particular, whether it's jealousy or something, it's not really certain why she is that way. What's going on that makes Talia, that's her name, Talia, what makes her so angry. And at one point she even says, "This isn't me. I want the real me back." And she just keeps reverting back to that. So in this play of going back and forth between times, in Wind Blossom, Amora, and Timar, they figure out that these things came from the future because of the collars that they wore. They didn't have beaded collars back in 48 after landing. These things came, these are like special made at that time. And then when her dragon goes between, it goes all the way back again, and they take off the collar off the dragon, and this way they can figure out, okay, this is where the dragon's from, because it's got the were symbol, and also that it was a healer. So there's a song that they write that's kind of predicting that the healing lass will follow, and that's supposed to be Lorena. And so they realize now that, okay, what they're dealing with, this isn't current, this is in the future. We have to do something to save the dragon riders, the dragons of Pern in the future, because if the dragons die, Thread's going to fall, and there's going to be nothing to stop it, and Pern will just get eaten up, and it will all die. So it's basically a race against time to try to solve what's causing the illness. They isolated that it's in the lungs and that it's air, but what are the antibodies? What are the things that can cure the disease, the basically the plague that's going around on the dragons? And the way that the book ends, we get three dragons, new dragons coming to Bendon. And Talia, they take her 3 turns back again to where she wasn't crabby. Then she comes back and she's like, "Oh, you saved all the dragons, yeah." And now she's all nicety nice. And there's a new gold dragon that just appears. And it's unclear, because this is before the epilogue. This is at the end of the last chapter. It's unclear whether this is going to be Lorena's dragon or whose it is. I mean, we don't know what Lorena's role even is going to be, because she doesn't have a dragon now, and will she? So I mean, there's a lot to get through in this book, and it's kind of a sad read to see the dragons die and to see the dragon riders and the pain that they feel when their dragons go between and don't come back. And Lorena feels all of that. She feels all the injuries to Thread. She feels all the deaths to the illness and all the dragons that fly between. And we have Kindon, who can kind of ease things a little bit, but it's a darker book, kind of going back to the last one, where it was the human plague. It was a tale of two books. The second half was just not a happy tale in the second half. This one's kind of the same way, except this one starts fairly early on. Dragon Harper was the second half. Dragonsblood is basically 3/4 of the book. It is just not very happy, kind of dark. So with that, I mean, I gave it 5 stars. I liked it. I thought it was a good book. I thought it was a good read. It was a quick read. I mean, it was a page turner, and like I said, I think Todd's writing. There's really not much of a fall off from Anne's, or at least the books that they wrote together. I guess maybe if you compare her writing solo to his solo, you might be able to see something. But I think he did a good job in this story, and I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. So as always, please like, subscribe, turn on the notification button. You'll be helping me out, doing me a favor. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this book, this series. If you have any memories of this series that you'd like to share, but no spoilers, please, because we're working our way through chronologically here. Or if you just want to leave your Goodreads name or a book or a series that you think I should, look at, read, and maybe review, drop those in the comments below. I always respond. I love hearing from you guys. And I thank you for your time and support, just tuning in and watching the videos. So with that, as always, until the next time, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.